hene onwe Frank Atufo edema NDP Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong me na mana kwa ba opani mu akwa ba
so enyado
bibi aboko de
nyamado mara
yeda waseso se wanyamre kakra ede abenim se wumre suade ba de to nsa frɛ no wan twe ano an wo fɛ wanyamre osime mfa ma happy fo na menso mentu na momra na waba so tie da wase pa ya ba se ndi mu kakra for those of our listeners awon hyeda nim Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong opani ya won fa kana haya mono ban area ben na wonyini tell us a bit about your childhood.
Yo, that's didi kan yebeda oboade ase say ene day odi acheyen ya ene midina anasa meti
Happy
FM studio enimo ne tosumi no so no meda National Democratic Party ekuma ene yekofa by Dr. Mrs. Nana Kunadu Rollins ena na hukani a wonyane baby eko nkuranhye ene memfansa akwanya ene sebio mabagana fo nyina enimu ameka sei emo nsoso enamo muso ena nsoso ye holiday I mean ene Friday enti mema Ghana fo nyina Juma Mubarak
sa muslim fo nyina
because ene baby ebekwa ko bom pa bia na nyame ento insurance ye man so
amen good amen
me Mohammed Frimpong the kind no the concept of hometown is very complex kakra
okay
and it's a me mama every time cry friend namasa
okay
you know Ghana ha me fan say busuya domo na say busuya ku no e bi ye ka banda anti ho ena me ma me free me fi akunya fie ya banda you know anti ena me stepfather enso so every yamfo ahafo tanonof anti wo hwa ho ena m ko school nyine ye anti as a matter of fact officially me documentation na ka hometown yamfo ena me can say me hometown ena m papa so free ahema kokobe me biological father
okay
every ahema kokobe anti me ohene nana
and you Asante me
ya Asante ahema kokobe you know Santasi road and the nasana kwakwe you know Asante ahafo ambuno and virtually
that's combination
that's how I'm spread
combination that's how I'm spread 3 in 1 sapepe na me hold in Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong no eno ne Asante din and Mohammed no ya kramodi
that's right
nti abebo mu sa
ne ye say you know na mama pe say wode me to ni wofa
okay
and I mean old man biological father so edeme to ni wofa
ono so no wofa
enti ono no wofa ne Frimpong
okay
and me mother so ni wofa no so any Mohammed
no
to when you exactly because a home tire complex
very complex
3 in 1
nina ye papa na onye na tse na onim se nyame de bobe dum pempen so se ase wutu frankadiama ye party kesiese
well me da say me you know me van say me di be 4 years o sha na Kumasi crew from na virtually me mother and I see it here in the first place. To me, about 4 years, you know, na mommy had me call ni crew namasa.
Okay.
You know, dim go be 6 years or
okay.
Now, after the 6 years, you know, let's just say almost about 10 years thereabout.
Okay.
And now, me sign a call yamfo. You know, did me started my primary education namasa. You know, from primary 1 to you know, San Juan and I say class 4.
Okay.
And from, you know, P5 air Cornelia up to middle school. Yeah, I mean, say you must say you middle school.
We are paying for
San 7.
We are San 7.
And also no, I got twice so Yamfo. You know, Tanon of district. And then I have for first. Now can you know Bona half? You got twice so I have for. Me you know that's 1972, and I'm a mass. I'm a dear secondary school. Kumasi. 72 to 77.
Wow.
The you know, Mayor Science. you know, I was a science student.
No, to deep wow.
I mean,
can you be a science and be a
exactly. So, you know, in those days, in the selection, you know, and I did science. And you know, 77, me back academy.
Okay.
For 6 cracker. Yeah, back cracker. And me a blow B.
Oh, okay.
And I'm saying I'm phobia.
Oh, okay. And then a man said, "I will can and I many transfer and I." Oh, David. As a school,
you know, say school bushia, school bushia. No, say who share seniors be. Emma, omudi. In fact, I had ambitions be and as I dream be a show trim.
Oh, okay.
And as more for when I was in a crack academy, a mass, you know, my seniors and I'm very close to them, you know, not omo from crime. And most of them were from Accra. And now, you know, Accra, you know, until a barn sad, Yami Yadum so. I was a studious, I mean, very, you know, hardworking, you know, individual. And yes, okay, and I'm a backra. Na me see a crack rather in any case. Edeja, Yami, Edibua, me mame, Echami O level, you know, quite very well. And I'm in the Backra Academy. In Backra Academy, you know, I was coming to read science. Now,
I know first time I buy the bank.
The Backra, just to come and, you know, come to sixth form. Fortunately, you know, in those days, you know, sixth form as usual. I say, you are on government scholarship, of kind course, of thing. You know, I did a boarding for 2 years. You know, until 79. After 79, and me colleague gone. Until there has not been any break in my education. You know, and I also said, I could board 3 years for her. Now, a honor, and I'm fan say. My whole political career started.
I will go. Okay.
You know, virtually, no. Me fan say what people term.
Before Legon, how would you describe it at your childhood? I bet him so back cancer and the rally gone. Would you say you had it very smoothly? Because we had in color bremono when ya mwapa, we also had call or brave just before being rally gone.
That's right.
Through childhood now, how would you describe that time?
Well,
was it very comfortable?
It was not comfortable at all.
Why do you say so?
Very good. Say, you know, in the first place, you know. Na me fancy me community na enye a year you hold education high.
Those days.
My community.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, me call me mama krum sim kwa kushia a Quran. I mean, as a makaranta.
Yes, okay.
Do you know one for man kwa se me go school. Or me call say. And first of all, me and eventually me ye ni bemako.
Okay.
Inti no one per se me ka baby me say if you say my mamre ni you know and I'm so me virtually akunya fie
no
percent me ben you know efie
okay
but yeah kono so na nya ade a na ye say konako school that was not the issue enti mission Islamic reading you know with my uncle my uncle now in those days you know Ghana has been a good country seriously now that was around 62 63 thereabout that was about 62 enti ayina very saying you chinchin chron college so mon school you chinchin chron college but fortunately na me call you na me cousin no o school dada
okay
and na me ayonko bia nti o school na me di nachi
we yanche down for
so be name farming course
no di nachi
school wow so enti officially and actually e be chro me din e co school and actually say e dey tu amu na after 4 years I was a delight of my teachers, all right. And you know, sometimes Tsunami Mami was settled away young for that. And what I did say, you know, say me call Mr. Father. Now, young Fonso sono, you know, na me tia crass in the best school. Me quick crack, you know. I mean, farmhouse, typical farmhouse. And me co school, na me diaba co school. You know, and move some debris.
Until I was comfortable.
Oh, but fortunately, no. Na me sheda ain't feel any frustration. as a young person. Not for me, I took it to be a normal life.
Okay.
Now, in your comparison, be the only thing that perhaps I do is now my classmate be etikrumu ankasa. Yamfo is a very busy farming area.
Okay.
And a very wealthy, cocoa farmers with a whole lot of hamlets around. Okay. It's a very big, And for me, now I saw my settlement in the area so heavenly. I mean, it was paradise for me. But let me feel crassy. I do virtually 6 miles every day to and from school.
Wow.
To and from school. But, I really did not feel it. But me P6, and now me yare kakra. Enti actually, they just made a better room. But when I recovered, I just went back to my village. Okay. So, that is how, my primary school education, now concentration. I mean, me apart from Serbia, I'm a core from now. Just say that's where I play. I like the natural environment. Dr. Bimu, the choir.
I don't know environment.
That's it.
It's only normal.
I saw it as normal. Yeah. You see snakes around, you see birds singing and that kind of thing. So that's why I did. Virtually, just I was very much attached to what I call original society.
Okay.
My whole life, the peasant farmer, people like that. I mean, peasantry, that I was, and then if you compare it to other areas, I can say, maybe the downtrodden or whatever, that was where I grew.
Okay.
Growing up, also, not just my ambition, really, I saw my parents say, my ambition was probably to lift them up, from wherever they are, and what was my ambition? Just make sure that I send them, I take them from the hamlet to town.
To the town.
So that was my, preliminary ambition. And that's how I grew.
And were you able to achieve that?
Oh, by God's grace.
Okay.
By God's grace. I've, until American say, I'm not bitter in life.
Okay.
I always thank God. And that's why say, among yourself, na me say, among for, about things instead of discussion, and then a near a walk wakuma soon or so we and sort of say, in the first place, you talk to people. Me growing up virtually, I've been with communities all along. It's community. So
the
grassroots community every time. And what I believe in is that at least we must have a shared goal, and that shared goal was by discussion. Okay. And that's how I build my social fabric.
Okay.
So, or community, as it were, I make my community part of society. Now, we look just within our ability, and at least one step at a time, And today, up to today, everybody who knows me say I'm a community person.
Wow.
I'm always mobilizing. I'm always talking to people. As a matter of fact, I spent virtually my whole life more or less in Accra. And it's community. That's it.
So, Legona, we started a political ambition. Right. What about that? In the first place, what were you looking up to apart from politics? Yeah. Then in that like future.
As a matter of fact, let me say that at each point when I made a choice, I don't look back for any regret.
Okay.
Now I think that has really built me up. In Legon, it's just like any other student. My hobby was reading. And now I'm, should I say, a geopolitical person. Okay. Me current affairs, a whole lot of things. And now, Oko Legona, if you want to associate with like-minded friends, in those days, some of us, now we wanted, virtual liberation of Africa. He said, "I'm it's a whole community. I call it a macrocosm of a nation.
That's right.
And nature say, I mean, as a reader, I read a lot, and growing up within my circles, I'm say, I mean, the liberation of the black continent. Can be far multinationals and that kind of thing. Okay. In fact, now minded in this area. No, I mean, people termed us as the socialist club.
Okay.
So, namidi akotin that area and namisai JCR rep SRC. I mean, that's the steering committee.
Okay.
That's a quaffle hall. Enti a hono, and so no, just say, yeah, politics politics in terms of say, you, baby free says you are ponumu, nearby, a bonti, and I say, memuno, you are dream be say, ye bar, or mine and sacrae, and I say, ye be dear hustle. Ebe bomode na niema sebio ebe ma o minor edini ye was our preoccupation.
Okay.
Nti ewomu no and I'm just saying 1982 I mean 31st December strike here
yeah.
Nuksa na ye nuks in those days because as namiye SRC rep I mean my whole rep at the SRC steering committee now I was something like an automatic NUX executive, Inti I didn't strike here, virtually. Now I'm saying president of the Brunei Students Union, campus, Legon chapter. Now I think we're moving for the national chapter. To be the national. Inti 31st strike here, virtually. Now the onus lay on us to spread the revolution. And eventually, I became an ideologue.
Yeah.
I mean, in the bigger Brunei region, nature say, many colleagues, in the Basu, Cape Coast branch and whatnot. Never say organized. Idea a baby, a buyer near from student task force. The student task force. Part of it was say, I mean, some kind of student involvement yɛde bɛboa na yɛatwe koko ne yɛde akɔ port na afei sɛbio of course I mean foreign exchange yɛhia na kyɛ sɛ yɛn ankasa yɛbɛboa sɛ nti yɛbɛdi saa adwuma no nti ɛno no was part of my political orientation. Nti mefa sɛ yes student politics mede akɔte wɔ mu yɛde bɛwie nti wie nso so no gya na kyɛ sɛ we have to enter into the bigger
full-time politics.
Full-time, the bigger, my chance here, full-time politics, giddy.
Okay.
Of course, now my national service was to go to the national, the regional administration. At that time, I was the coordinating, executive. I mean, those were revolutionary days. And we did all that, but a bit through time, let's say, virtually, I mean, say active politician, say, political position, those were not, say, things that me say or say me room. But of course, now I wanted to start a business. And eventually I wanted to start a business. Projects, marketing, and stuff like that. Individually, which I've been self-employed for a long time. Now I'm employing a lot of people. In the areas of what I call safety, engineering. I mean engineering services and that kind of thing. Because my projects there, any project that you talk about today, I can promote it, I can market it.
Wow.
Even if you talk about aeronautics, I can market it. So they are saying these are things that. virtually I've done throughout my years.
Okay. Yeah, within all these years, and Futuba could be fair to listeners, especially those that want to or line of lifestyle. Now, what would you tell them? If a yambra or political,
Most importantly, say seriously, say if people get the right orientation, orientation comes in two ways. But when say either say will be no mental. So you could be mentored, and now say one can say within yourself, what are them, self-consciousness. So they say within yourself, we be to you say no can say me person me this age me di and I say what have you. And when I look at the situation, say unemployment is a problem, in our days now. Unemployment shouldn't be a serious problem. Yes, it shouldn't be a serious problem. Really.
Why do you say so?
Very good. And it's you see, in the first place, you must say if you are a leader, and as you are in governance, you seek to build what I call the right social and moral fabric. So the right social and moral fabric. Because say policies are. Policies, as of policies, and yet necessarily say, of course, as a society, we all have a lot of expectations and aspirations.
Of course.
Tall lists, limitless. But and yet no never drive society. What drives society is what I call sufficient primary policy. Sufficient primary policy. Yes. The sufficient primary policy.
And only a day.
Very good. Thank you very much. And no, in the first place, you build the right social fabric. Say, what a constitution we are. You see, the framers of constitution now are more vision be, from our political past and antecedents. No more per se, a month for your war or may mono. Yetimi edi nhyehyɛ bi so. Okay. And nhyehyɛ be ma say me ne wo adwen the same thing. Ade edi enya virtually people in public office holders today. Ubiara, from a very long time. Ubia complaining, Ghanaian mentality, Ghanaian attitude, Ghanaian mindset. We can align this if we build the right social fabric and moral fabric. You see, the Constitution, the 1992.
And are you sure that can be done?
It can be done. Why not? Why?
For your mentality.
No.
Well, I don't need.
No, that it should be aligned. It can be aligned. And see, virtually they be but it can be aligned. Sure. Adena sebi me person me bo o man bi adi.
Okay.
Adena yenko for ba na wo call man we so o mu bi bia pepepe are they better than us? No. Sebi obi a wono free ha na okọ manfoforo bi so na okọ akoye bibia okọ ha he's tuned up to the system.
Of course. Regulations
what the mentality call?
No.
So what I'm saying is, you see, the 1992 Constitution, the fourth Republican Constitution, near a woman took into consideration your political past and antecedents.
Okay.
So they say. And then when you be kasa, can be a sebi and crofo baya and can be a young sebi obi nyese. That's commanded. You don't necessarily have to command people's mentality, attitude near you. But you really have to build what I call social fabric and a moral fabric. Okay. I'll give you an analogy.
Okay.
You see, when you look at a herdsman, a herder for that matter, he I just walk permanent tree and say there be a or the one grazing ground. If he does that over a period, next time, say when you are krana and one about grazing no masaba. So that's it. Very good. Yeah, constitution, demands what we call participation. So, and participation means inclusive leadership.
Okay.
Means inclusive leadership. Of course, structures be nanka, it should mean that one. You see, when it comes to local governance, and structures be nanka, say you are buying council or running policy be and go be who say na buying warrior. A buying person who didn't say. A buying person who yes say. Enti, who call your community, sir? You will be a friend unit committees.
Yeah, no correct.
Virtually every 2 years, we have what we call district level elections.
Elections, yeah, also.
Emma, a month for echo, unfortunately, these units, either do not exist or, are dead on arrival. Among your policies, so abaya what is on the policies, wontimi mano enkoform. Ontimi eni hu nkomo enkyere mamunu nyina. Individually, obia te n'adwen so, obia ete ne attitude so. Obia pese woye ne woye. Example is this Galamsey thing. So they say.
It was
in the first place, yen nyina nim say o nka aban betimi solve the problem immediately.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, you see, human beings, we have this element of what we call will and might. I mean, of course.
Yes.
You were collectively, which the national anthem mentions. Our will and might, and you're brought together into a force. Because we know what in the same neighborhood, minimum. We can live in the same neighborhood, but we not know ourselves. And things going on in our neighborhood, I quite say individuals and so they say, the wealth of the nation, the people. Or maybe I japade and say, Yahunya, nipa a womb in the first place. And se bibi koso, will maintain bimwa. We don't even know. We have to build what we call, it's not reinventing the wheel. We must give them a functionality. I was saying, a man near money, Juma. Your man near mano, who said, Nipano Ankasankasa, Adena, Sebiosa Mete. I've drunk from Tano River, because we settled close to Tano. Nasa Mete, Tano Insuano, na me tohona se, me shese ubi babe sena. Why should I allow it? So they say, but unfortunately, we have what we call complaints redress mechanism in this country. Virtually, we don't have it. Complaints redress. Anyhow.
I didn't say anything NDP.
I'm giving you the very fundamentals of NDP, the way we started. So they are saying, for some of us, you started from grassroots. And the Americans say, see, two aspects of policy.
Yeah.
You have sufficient primary policy and you want necessary secondary policy. The necessary secondary policy, of course, a whole lot of things from the desires and aspirations of people. You say Ubienya bicycle back home, a way back home. I can name them. It's necessary. But you see, if you get the primary policy right, and it will give rise to all these things and make it effective. So they are saying. Because after all, your community and our society, basic thing, NSA will allow for participation and inclusivity in all what we do. And government must direct massive social intervention. So they are saying. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, system why run is here, thanks to God, we have what you call more than a half glass full content. Wow. More than a half glass full. BB but of course, there could be a few deficiencies here and there. And I will put my finger more on the primary policy rather than the secondary ones.
Let me ask you this question. As a flag bearer of NDP, do you have that conviction? Who was that? Did you know what's that? And what was one? Did you say what made him upcoming election?
William, me mau emfato.
Let's be sincere.
Me mau emfato.
Okay.
You see, woko yinkru so a.
Yeah.
Si bedi bayra fashe ana se bibia. I've been a village boy.
Yeah, you told me earlier.
All my life. You're fra comfort. You're fra comfort. You know, you're comfort. Nini, I mean, which we call chief priests, diviners.
Yeah.
You know, say, oh, this year harvest, you know, be a fum asase and I say ABB. But you're free. Indeed, the chief priests, a free, other diviners, you know. Say your bo, Chenia, man for Bessa, you know, your Boshire, wouldn't send your money.
Yeah.
You know, Abia, in some days, they almost to me him more than 3 days now, almost answer to the problem. And I tell you, I've witnessed in few areas there, Obi kra na Obi nim se wo comfort dadano. Who be etimi ekano no about be free konfunini I mean konfupanyi and as whatever na watwe no ekọ baby no watwe say so they say enti I'm only giving you this analogy me sure
NDP is going to win.
NDC we can win hands down.
You mean NDP?
Sorry,
NDP.
We give birth to them. It's my father who made wife them. Sometimes it doesn't matter
because it didn't say.
And you know, the NDP, you know, it to me, I cause surprises.
Alaji, who is your pa?
Oh,
because me share the amount for a year. We are Krumwa Masa. And you better
say you know, and the good Lord, the good Lord works miracles.
Okay.
So, you know, more importantly, I was said we keep the peace of this country.
Asumjene die.
And I say, Mr. all my life, said my attachment have been with communities. And he, my manual sem, min komodi, said, in the first place, communities, you know, ebeti amamuase, any senior governance, normally when that is done, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised, say, you know, the government in power. Because unfortunately we don't have that. That is why every time there's this clash. So they say because near amount for official and I would actually right la. So they say unfortunately virtually because the public office holders and Kasankasa enemies say they are the victim of self failure and no it is all over the place.
And it's
yes, and I have which is not good. And the Obieba or Baba complain first, not Ghanaian attitude, you know, your mindset, your mentality. It should be put together in a collective will and might, a driver all our aspirations.
Okay.
So
Alaji akaya sema miansani sorry yakofa kachi but na ansi ne bekono pese wankasa uma message bi finally na ode ma listeners ti wona hwe Facebook e bi mo hwe amano ne ne ade message na be kan de atwa to na ode attach Ghana ana literature na kuma akase no chale ni ye kase but ya Alaji for aka die ye beto ama NDP.
Okay, me that say set my candidate say ba ye ba no ye nka say sebi o hwe ni ho o mine no baby ye duro no you know potokasem you say at least it could be more than half glass full. Content ni good. Na it was said look outside you know I mean global arena no baby me be sheshe. So they say I mean a red hot and a very volatile. And he was a young Sankasa, ye she near a bit my. Now, as a matter of fact, ye japa dear first near a sombo, a nipana woman. nipa na ewo mu no if yetimi harness the human capacity, our knowledge, any name I wa nema bebre wo ha yensu ho ntina ye promise zero unemployment. Your promise
zero unemployment.
Obi o person ye adwuma bia be
zero unemployment. Alaje possible.
Easy.
Wow.
Easy. Just a be a 1%. And we assure retirees, say, or live, they will be having very active life in the community.
One area hamepa, we call retirement.
Zero unemployment. Retirees must not go and be looking into space and say, and as a sabroni, no, it shouldn't happen. Look, let me tell you, research amount for a year gather dust, at least in the agri industry. Any name will be to me, only God knows.
Only God knows.
So they say, but say one in the first place, you put what I call the social fabric right. We believe in what we call COBs, Community Organization Bureau. You be create a lot of COBs, and they saying, "Sebio, Ghana ni baby obia wunim say Ghana edwon ho." Ena wonen so etimi kwachi. Look, ukoye district assemblies in here na. I mean, when we elect the assemblymen and women, na omokopa, so they fly up sky. Communities, they don't land there anymore.
I don't answer no.
So they say, that's not our problem.
Happy 98.9 FM. Alaji, you don't come on the best hands. You better me bring asanso no we because zero unemployment de kwamna. Me who say it sounds too good to be true.
It's easy to do. I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's easy to do.
Yo. Alaji, you better was no